thegearnetwork.com.
The following is a presentation of the Gear Radio Network.
I'm rich, I'm wealthy, I'm JC Money.
Coming to you live from the Gear Network studios in Rochester, New York. This is the JC Money Show with your host, John Cimino, aka JC Money. And now, here's John.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome to this edition of the JC Money Show here on the Gear Radio Network. How the hell are you? My name is John Cimino, or JC Money, depending on who you ask, where you ask, or what avenue you ask. How are you? At I am JC Money on all of social media. You can follow me on there. You can support the show and support me by buying a t-shirt, a nice comfy t-shirt off of my Pro Wrestling Tees store, which is prowrestlingtees.com/thejcmoney. And of course, the JC Money Show is produced here locally in Rochester, New York at the Gear Network Studios. And you know what? I think we're just going to get right to it. Joining me here, the man, the myth, the reigning, defending, undisputed, upstate pro wrestling world heavyweight champion, one half of the immortal tag team champions, UPW Hall of Famer, Rochester Wrestling Hall of Famer. What is it? UPW Hall of Famer, Rochester? I don't know. It's Chip Stetson, ladies and gentlemen. Chip.
Hey, buddy, what's going on, man?
Welcome back to the JC Money Show. First time in, God, maybe 7 or so years, man. How the hell are you?
Good, brother. It's always great talking to you. Was that when I was at your house last?
That was it. Yeah, it was. You were when you were last on my podcast. You had made a phone call the first time, but then you came on the JC Money Show not too long after that. And I think it was for a headlocks. You were in town for a headlocks and home runs event. Okay. I almost said pay-per-view, but there was no pay-per-view yet.
No.
I think it was you were in town for a headlocks and home runs, and your tag team partner, conspicuous by his absence last Immortal show, I noticed, was playing Xbox. He was playing WWE 2K13 on the other side of this room here that's now redone. And we were over there at my bar having a couple of cold ones and talking shit about the shindies back then. And it's funny because I have you on now, and it's almost, I don't want to say the more things change, the more they stay the same. But, and the subject about the shindies now, it's less about, what I was griping about, which was people getting paid. My understanding is people are getting paid now in every, level, which, good for them. They're doing that, then cool. You got no gripe from me. But it seems that, the shindy way of life that was back then in some aspects still lives. So I guess my first question to you is, when you see a group of people or a wrestling organization or something that just is very stagnant, it doesn't seem to be moving, like what piece of advice could you give them to maybe get to that next level, or maybe they don't have a Chip Stetson in their locker room, so put yourself in that locker room. What do you tell these promoters, these bookers? Hey, you guys can get to the next level by
thinking outside the box and pushing the envelope, and that happens a lot. Actually, speaking of the little boy that was playing video games in your basement, he just walked in the room. Can we
Did
do
he?
a quick cameo?
Hey,
Bubba,
get his ass in here.
JC the Ice wants to say hi. Gotta get in here. No, you can't drink my beer. Move on. I'll move on.
Don't drink it. Holy hell, there he is, Shane Stetson. My God, dude. Look at you. He's all grown up and he's all grown up. Where the hell have you been, man?
Rolling around in poison ivy. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Listen, it's crazy because, and I'm straight shooting with you. I came back because your dad said, you got to see my boy wrestle. You got to see my boy wrestle. You got to see my boy wrestle. And so I go back. Chip bridges that gap. I'm in the UPW family.
Yeah.
I come back. Goddamn, you haven't wrestled a show since I got there.
Does that mean you're scared of JC Money?
No.
When am I going to see you physically when you're not poison ivied up?
Hopefully soon.
Bring your ass. Seriously, bring your ass. And I think we did wrestle on the same show a couple of times. I'm just busting your balls, but good to see you, man.
One, I think, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But,
one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You were at the steel cage match last year outside of Pineapple, weren't you?
Yeah, that was Russell Cameron, that show.
That's right. And he was against Matic.
Yes, he was. He was. That's right. Okay, so 2 shows, and then I replaced him when I teamed up with you against Strong Style in July or June.
That's right.
But
that's right.
Anywho,
thanks for the cameo, buddy.
Thanks for the cameo, Shane. Nice to see you. Wash your ass.
No, he's doing good. He's doing good.
Good.
He's taking care of business. But back to what you were talking about.
Yes.
Before with promotions and everything like that. There's a lot of companies out there in this day and age that just are fine with being complacent,
right?
And they're going to cater to the same fan base, and normally, and as I do, it's going to be friends and family,
right.
That are just to see their loved one perform. But when they don't strive to get out, and one of the things that I've been a big supporter of is the guys and gals getting out on the road and traveling around. The promotions that are sit there and be stagnant and not push the envelope and not try to do different things, they're never going to survive. They're usually probably the first ones to keep a low fan base, and as you know, in New York State, if you're not drawing a crowd of 200 people, you're in deep trouble.
Right.
You're not meeting the startup costs. You're not meeting, payroll, rent, insurances, and everything. And I'll be honest with you, I don't even know how they're surviving. It's what some places call tax refund promotion.
Well, I'll tell you what. The one that I always used to, the one that was the bane of my existence until that promoter no longer, he moved out and he's no longer in the picture. So the new version of them really doesn't bother me. But I had one of them reach out to me. I'm straight shooting here. One of them reached out to me to not necessarily talk business, but I feel it was to extend an olive branch. So I'm not against necessarily now, being that previous owner is is gone and out of the picture. I'm not necessarily against going and paying a visit and offering some, being a chips that's into them, if that's what they want. But now, in terms of being that role and playing that role, if you give advice and then they don't necessarily take it, and they don't do anything, then at what point do you kind of just say, all right, well, this is what it is, and these guys are not really in my hemisphere. You know what I mean? Like, at what point do you say, yeah, okay, we know Hellcat is a promoter, right? We know Hellcat will bust his ass to put on a show. We know Brett Stymus, promoter, he'll bust his ass to put on a show. I'll even give Shadowcat his props. He'll bust his ass to put on a show over there at NCW.
Yep.
But to every one of their credit, they listen to feedback. They've always listened to feedback. But Hellcat has for as much in your face as he was when he was younger, he's listened to feedback going on, and that's why UPW is hitting 20 years pretty soon. Right. ESW just hit 20 years, and it's the same thing. They pushed the envelope, but they also welcomed feedback to help the product grow. Same thing with Shadowcat. It's one of the first things I said with NCW is you guys are, right now you look like your OSPW light, and now they've established their own identity and they're doing good things for their brand.
Yep.
Some of these other ones that aren't necessarily doing that, but maybe on the cusp. What do you say? What piece of advice would you give them immediately?
It's all about adaptability, and if they're not going to change with the times, The one thing about pro wrestling, as you know, it could be really, really hot or it could be really, really stagnant.
Right.
And, of course, the way things were back in the old day, before the internet, at least I say the old days, before the internet era, is you saw professional wrestling on TV, on cable, with maybe 3 big promotions. And, out of those 3 big promotions, or you can even throw in the Japanese promotions if you want, where you would every now and then, New Japan, you would have a big name go over to New Japan and make appearances to start things up over there. They were smart enough to know that they had to keep things fresh and things always in the eye that gave people interest, whether it was like current events, things that people could relate to. I mean, I'm not necessarily going back to the, let's pull out the Iron Sheik Bubba and Sergeant Slaughter, Jim Duggan, and play roles on, current events and what's going on in the military in the United States and building up patriotism and everything like that. But, they were smart enough to know how to catch their certain age demographic on what they were trying to look for in their fan base and, strike a chord, find something that they were going to be relating to in regular day-to-day, interaction with current events.
Right.
Not everybody does that. And I mean, some people that may think that they know and say, oh yeah, that's a gimmick. And you got to make sure that you feel yourself around gimmicks. Well, you can feel yourself around gimmicks, but if those gimmicks don't know what the hell they're doing, they think they do, but they really have no clue on how to actually deliver a message, then you're not doing any good. And it's just, you're just going to have that the wheel, the mouse wheel or the hamster wheel is just going to keep on turning. And it's never going to, no one's ever going to grasp what they're actually doing to them, with themselves. And that's the one thing that's good about, like, Brett Stuyvesant has a great mind for the business. Hellcat's got a great mind for the business. Mike Buccalow and Immortal has a great mind for the business. And those guys, all 3 of them, have what we would like to say, this firsthand, lieutenants, right-hand people that
absolutely
sit there and bounce things off of them. Great minds. I mean, look what Jonathan Ash is doing right now. He's traveling all over the United States and the world, actually doing production work on something that he's been doing for over 20 years, and something that he's passionate about because he has the knowledge and he has the experience. He picked up on it, where his niche was going to be, a long, long time ago. And that's no different than what a lot of the promoters have to do now, is find out, the talent that's out there, find something that's going to be marketable, and I'm not saying that, the old grizzled vet Chip Stetson is something that's marketable, but I'm able to still bring back something to wrestling where I can actually work with younger talent that really have a great general grasp of what's going on.
Absolutely.
And be able to help program their mind.
I'm a toast you to that one, because that's absolutely 100% true there. There we go. We'll see it clinking there. But that's 100% true. I was talking with Vince Valor about that last week, because he's one of the trainers, Buffalo Wrestling Academy out in Buffalo, and he and Maddock and Loke, they kind of all look out for one another and share the same message of positivity and all that. And it's true to your point. And I can speak this truth to power now, being that I'm back involved actively, not presently at the moment because of the ankle, but you know what I mean? Being able to come back and work these kids and wrestle these kids, it's not about so much being the JC Money that I was 10 years ago, where I had the little, the hood and the thug look, and I was trying to be main event and everything like that. Now, adaptability. I came back, my first match back, the aforementioned cage match where I was wrestling Cameron, I came back with that look, and the UPW crowd didn't know what the hell to do with me. Because as far as UPW and JC Money were concerned, it was a 17-year difference between my appearances, between my last appearance there and, my first appearance back. Some people came from Next Era, so they knew Cartel, Thug, JC Money, but they didn't know, like, the majority of UPW's current fan base did not know who I was. And I picked up on that, and that's where, tweaking just a little cosmetic things and some attitude, the attitude, the presentation, instead of coming out like this tough guy, thug, like I'm going to whoop your ass. Now I've got this, these aviators and the leather coat, and I still carry the Maglite gimmick because that stands the test of time. But now I'm a little more looser with the personality, a little more comedic, try to, make not only, engage in the crowd, and get them involved, but also get them invested into who I'm wrestling, because ultimately my job is to put them over. And and in so doing, I find myself in main events with you.
Yeah.
I find myself, as a mainstay now, and it's just it's the adaptability that you're talking about there. 23 years, you longer, but 23 years. Whether I was active or not, I was always reinventing myself, whether it was wrestler, whether it was the blue blood character that I did, whether it was the thug character, whether it was going to be the podcaster that was talking about wrestling, whether it's coming back as the old man now, now the hybrid Larry David and John Cimino personality thing, being able to adapt to, whatever.
Yeah.
Is the key to sustainability. You hit the nail right on the head there.
But I mean, here's a funny thing, and I'm gonna totally blow your mind away for a second, because you're gonna know exactly where I'm going with this. Put yourself 10 years ago, maybe even 12 years ago, on the independent scene. There was a time, and that's why I'm loving what's going on right now. 10, 12 years ago, it was so cutthroat.
Yep.
On these indies,
absolutely,
where everybody was so intimidated that Chip Stetson's coming in, he's here to take someone's spot. Oh, Chip's coming in, he's here to put himself over, or whatever the case. And I was there to elevate people.
You were never that guy.
No, that's the thing. But that's the mentality, though, JC.
Right.
That's the mentality.
But I think that mentality comes from, or at least came from back then, because I worked with the competition. To Mike's UPW was always, whether I like to admit it or not, always looked at as the benchmark here. When we were doing stuff in Next Era, we knew what UPW was doing, and we tried to come as close to that as possible. And that's when we started bringing in Brody, and we brought in, I think Dalton came in for a couple of shows. Colin was there, but I was working them.
but brother, it's the same talent.
Right. Exactly. But that's the thing. It's the mindset, and it's those kids that didn't grow up like I grew up in arguably yours and Hellcat's system. Hellcat Loke, like that system is really what UPW is. And I grew up on that early on in the New Millennium days. Yeah. So when it came time to go to these places, I was always well taken care of, but to the point where, a talent from within the system would come in, that's where the guard would come up, because a lot of them didn't come from that.
Right, but the ironic thing is, now it's those guys like Price Pure Gold, Matt Lawson, Troy Cooper. These are the guys that are begging us to come in.
Right.
And be a part.
I couldn't believe it. They knew who I was before I got there.
Right, and instead of being intimidated by someone's experience factor and ability, this new crop of talent is even the guys Budget and Lotto from Creed. They're dying for us to come back.
Right. Absolutely.
To work with them to actually and same thing. TJ, Shell Connors, Jeremy, a lot of the guys.
You don't have to plug every single one of them. They know you're talking. We're talking about all of you.
Right. There you go. These guys are begging for the vets to come around just to work with them. And it's just like, wow, okay, you know what? The whole perception of the grizzled vet is here to take my spot, and I'm going to be out the door. I'm going to be working the curtain or doing dark matches, to please come share the knowledge and information and help us out, help elevate us quick. mean, it's a total 180 from where it was 10, 12 years ago.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with that. And for me personally, coming back, like you and I had talked privately in the locker room, but I'll share this part where you had said that I had personally unfinished business, and I did. And to some extent, I still do. There are some things that I need to accomplish actively in ring before I go into production with Jonathan Ash. But when I came, for me, it was a challenge just to see if I could still do it. Yeah. And when I proved to myself that I still could, what came from that was what I would not have expected 10 to 12 years ago, which was the kids nowadays, the kids that are here saying, that was awesome.
Yep.
Can you watch my match? Are you coming back? And I'm like, if they'll have me, I'll be back. And they had me, and I've been back ever since. And I love my role right now, honest to God, as the pseudo coach that I am, because I don't necessarily need to be main event. But if me being in the main event to help the younger crop understand what it's like to be in that spot, if that helps, I'm happy to do it. When teaming with Loke, you mentioned Lawson and Cooper, that has been my favorite thing to watch all year. I got to, when I came back, the first thing I did was I worked with Lawson. It was me and him against Cooper and Cody Love. And then kind of getting that story going to get, turn Lawson into the heel that he is with Cooper, and then forming American Strong Style and being that veteran that helped get them, at least in UPW, because they're doing things outside of it now too, but at least in UPW to help get them there. I take great pride in everything that team does. I cannot put those guys over enough. That's been one of my favorite things in 2022.
Right. Well, I don't know if you saw it though. This past weekend, with the Mortal Championship Wrestling, it was myself and Keenan Moore, because Shane had a bad case of poison ivy, and he couldn't go out there and perform. He'd end up oozing all over everybody. But we wrestled Lawson and Cooper.
I did see that.
And, I'm different facets of promotions, whether it's UPW or Mortal and everything. I've always been, to a degree, like an agent behind the scenes, an advisor and everything like that. And that's what I'm also in with the Mortal Championship Wrestling, which is closer down towards my area, where I'm an agent, and I'm in a position, I should say, where I can actually talk to the promoters and the bookers and help a lot of the wrestlers from up in Western New York get opportunities.
For sure. Absolutely.
And get reps in. And that's just something that I believe is what's needed. Aside from when I see talent out there, like Lawson and Cooper, Keenan Moore, Price Pure Gold, Creed, if I'm in a situation like I am in, to be able to get them work when they don't normally have any work going on, I'm going to do it.
Right. Absolutely.
That's key people that I've identified as are ready to be out on the road, ready to be in front of a crowd, need to be getting as much work as they possibly can, because they're so good, and that's how their career is actually going to get made. No different than stuff that like we've done back in the day,
exactly
with myself coming into New Millennium Wrestling back in 2000. It's the same situation where you've got something to offer, and you're going out and you're trying to get on the shows and everything. And we didn't always have an advocate working for us.
No, not at all. In fact, you were one of I will say, for my first road experience, you were the big advocate for that. You and Scotty Bender, with 24/7 Wrestling, helped get me there, and that helped launch me, kind of to where I had helped become. Hellcat was the first one that kind of, he gave me the tryout, and him and Scotty Bender as well. That name comes up an awful lot. I love that guy.
They
look
much.
No, I think he lives in Florida now.
Is he really?
I believe so. At least that's what Facebook tells me. You know, anything that's on Facebook is true. You know, so
Yeah, right.
I could talk to you for hours about this, but I am on time constraints as far as picking up the kids. So I want to talk to you about the UPW Championship.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable to me to learn the factoid that you hadn't been a promotion's main champion in your entire tenure. I for sure thought you had. I could not remember whether or not you had New Millennium's title. I thought you were like in contention for it or something like that. But for sure you had to have 24/7. Nope, you didn't, because you ran that show. You helped run that show. And then, it was unbelievable to me. And I personally fanboyed a little bit and got behind the story of you wrestling Cloudy. Talk to me about how this came about. You finally getting the shot at the big one, and what it means to you.
I've spent a lot of years in Western New York, JC, and all the different companies, whether it was a New Millennium, Kayfabe Dojo, NWA, to UPW. I'd always been like the secondary champion. I was one of like the TV champions or the Kayfabe Dojo champion or like the NWA 6-man tag champion, stuff like that, which are great accolades to have. But I was never the main guy. I was more like that great secondary, that dependable hand that the promotion could always depend on for putting something on that was solid enough and solidifying that company's promotion. I've never ever been a heavyweight champion per se, other than a tag team. And some people know this, a lot of people don't know this. We are moving to Florida next summer. We're getting out of New York State. And one of the reasons I came back about a year or so ago was to break Shane in. And as like you said earlier, Shane's been around probably more wrestling shows than most of even the current guys that are on most rosters. I mean, this kid has lived and breathed.
Grew up in it. Legitimately grew up in it.
Literally. I've got pictures of him sitting on that at Keenan Center, Jimmy Snuka's lap, doing the Superfly, when him and his son came in. But I mean, he's been there through all of it. So was my wife. I mean, my wife and I got engaged at Webster.
At the New Millennium show.
Right. So it's like, Rochester Wrestling.
We gimmicked the ticket for it. I remember exactly how it happened. We gimmicked like a 50-50 ticket or something like that. We gimmicked it for Deb to come to the ring. And who was your favorite wrestler? Chip Sets. And here comes Chip's music. And here he comes. You had the fucking mullet and everything. And I remember because I think I broke kayfabe because I was a manager at that point or a ref at that point, but I came out because I wanted to see it. And I remember that. That's a vivid memory.
So just knowing on everything that's gone on in Rochester and everything, and truth let it be told, I am probably one of the very, very few people in the wrestling business that can talk to Hellcat / Mike and be a voice of reason to him. I've never been, threatening to him in any way, shape, or form. Been like, true brothers, friends in this industry. And that's a very hard thing to find. And, I had talked to him and he knew that I had come back and as I had been back to Rochester for the last year, quite a bit and helping at this, at the gym and doing different things and different events. And, he knows, I'm not getting any younger, I still have gas in the can. And, it's one of those things where, and I'm very appreciative that he thought enough of me to be able to give me the chance to be able to go after it. Cause like I said, he actually asked me, have you ever held the heavyweight championship? I said, never. I've always been the secondary. And, one of those go-to guys. And he's just like, what do you think? You think you've got some gas in the tank for, to make the run on it? And I said, I'd love the opportunity to, you know what I mean? And I mean, let's call a spade, pound for pound. So many people probably, if they make fun of him, I wouldn't know about it. But you look at somebody like Cloudy, he is so gifted.
I've always felt with Cloudy, he is not, and I don't mean this in a negative way, very underrated.
Huge.
Very underrated. He is so good. I don't think people really know how good he is.
He can work with anybody and make them look good. I mean, back in the day, Jimmy Olsen was the machine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Cloudy is the machine now.
Yep.
And he's been the machine for the last 5 years as someone that you can look at and is going to go out there, and he is a workhorse. He can go.
I told you guys flat out right after your match, you guys had to put in the work because the match before, was what it was, in the Viscera spot, but it kind of brought the crowd down a little bit. Yep. And you guys had to put in the work to kind of wake that crowd back up, get them back into the match, and it was at a certain point during that match where I believe that they realized something special was happening in front of them. I don't think they realized that at first, but it's a kudos to you and to Cloudy for waking that crowd the fuck back up. And Cloudy, with his introduction and how he, the swag that he carried, and I do, I have a swag introduction too, and even I'm like, damn, you know what I mean? So.
Well, I knew, and one of the things that I really pushed home about was my one shot. Because I've had matches against heavyweight champions before, but I've never held a big one. And this, I mean, when I talk about it being, my shot, my chance to really do something here, and I'm sure Bleeding Buckets probably also,
I don't know how that happened, man. That cage has no give.
No. And boy, the looks I got from my wife after that show.
Oh, I bet. And it's funny you mentioned that. I'm going to pause it right there because breaking down the wall, we're doing this on the Zoom, and it says remaining time, meaning remaining 5 minutes. I'm going to pause here on the audio feed. We're going to go to a commercial break. When we come back on the other side of the commercial break, ladies and gentlemen, Chip Stetson and I are going to continue this conversation. Stick around. We'll be right back here on the JC Money Show on the Gear Radio Network.
Welcome back to the JC Money Show. And now, once again, here's John.
All right, everybody, we are back here on the JC Money Show. John Cimino here. Chip Stetson there. So we were talking just before we got to the commercial break. I laughed because you mentioned the dirty looks your wife gave you. So back in June when we were the tag team, and we were wrestling strong style, I was going into that match sporting a wound on the ankle, right? I know your knee was jacked up too. So it was like, okay, well, the two of us together, we can make one person, so that works. But my ankle had been super bad leading up to it, and I took some medication, whatever, hit the vape a little bit, get there, non-contact. My ankle goes on me. I go down. We finish the match. But my ankle is 3 times the size that it normally is. The look I got when I got home.
Yeah.
Michelle was not pleased with me, so I relate to you there. But I'm sorry. Yeah. Continue on. You cut open. You're wrestling Cloudy.
Yeah, wrestling Cloudy. Just, as we all know, the drama that we try to put into everything in the story that we try to tell. A lot of what it felt like, I was old Yeller, you know what I mean? And is he going to get put out to put out of his misery and everything like that, and having to fight to stay alive, basically. And, Cloudy, a testament to his art, man. He is so good.
He really is.
I'm saying, hanging with them, and making the match happen and telling the story and just being like, this we should be able to do this, and it should actually get people in the feels and everything. And then when it happened, because I mean, as in Rochester, I've used a DDT for a long time. A lot of people don't like that move because I'm known for hitting it fast and quick. And winning it with that was sweet. But when you guys came into the cage afterwards to see, that I almost lost it.
Yeah.
And I know when I talked to Champ and Sean in the back, and when the locker room emptied with some of my closest, friends, that was cool. That was really cool. It was like just one of those things where it just made 20 years or 22 years of going up to Rochester that much special that I was appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had gotten my due, I
wish I would have thought to bring this guy, the Rochester heavyweight title.
Yeah.
I wish I would have thought to bring this guy, because I would have given you this title to go along with it. Because honestly, this. Now, I mean, I would have taken it back, because it would come home with me because it's mine. But if there's one other guy that I feel could, truly, maybe not from being a Rochesterian, you're a Rochesterian, by you're traveling here as much, but man, I should have brought this because I didn't know. I honestly, I did not know. I would have walked in, I would have thrown this on your shoulder with that UPW title and said, "You're the fucking man," Yeah. And it's I'll tell you from my perspective, where I was sitting up in the press box there, I was watching every minute of the match. I could tell you the moment. I don't know. Cloudy hit some move. It was right. It was not too long after the cage had cut you open. Fuck you, New York State Athletic Commission. That's the cage. It was the hard way.
Yeah, that's right.
But when after that happened, like I think he hit you with one move, and then it was a kick out, and then I think he did something else, and it looked like it was done, and it was one.
Yeah, he came off the top rope and stood and landed with his feet right on my desk like Finn Balor does.
Yeah. The coup de grace.
On a chair.
Right.
On a chair.
So I think it was after that long 2 count was when I personally was like, they want him back. Like they got him. They like the crowd. It clicked to me as a pure spectator. That at that moment, the crowd realized something was happening that wasn't that may not have been what they thought was going to happen.
Right. The beauty of the 2 3/4 kick out. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. The drama that goes into that, and when done correctly, is a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. And watching it, like it was, because I honestly, I know you don't know this. I had been clued in. I had been tuned into, okay, this is going to happen. All the baby faces are going to go out. Yeah. And I said, I'm not on the show, dude. I'm not, as far as I know, as far as they know, I'm not, I don't need to go out there. I could be, no, you're fucking going out there is what I was told. It's just like that too. Yeah. So you're fucking going out there. And I'm like, all right, I ain't gonna. That must have been Matic. But I'm watching and I'm hearing, JC, come on. JC, come on. And I'm like, I'm fucking watching the match, Yeah. And it was as soon as you hit the DDT. Yeah. On my one fucking good wheel, I'm freaking hobbling down them steps, and I'm running right, and I'm going right there. I'm on one leg, seriously, one ankle to get down. I wanted to see the whole match through because I wanted to see the end, and I wanted to hear the pop, and I did. Yeah. And then just like everybody going out there was super cool, and just like the look on your face when you and I had locked eyes, and I was in there, and I told you what I told you. And I'll leave that between us, but I meant every single fucking word of that. And I say that to you because it legitimately, we all know the JC Money story. Yep. And we know, now everything is good. But in my times throughout wrestling, lost contact with Hellcat, right? Briefly lost contact with Loke, the man who trained me.
Yep.
Lost contact with some very important key people.
Yeah.
There was only 2 people that really saw and understood what I was doing and what I was saying and understood that it was coming from a good place. One of them was Brody Lee.
Yep.
And the other was you.
Yep.
You never, and God damn it, if I get emotional, I'm gonna slap you I'm gonna hit you in the D when I see you, because
when you said 2 people, you had me then. I knew what you were going with.
But seriously, there were times where maybe my delivery was not the best, and I understand that. Maybe my knuckleheadedness kind of crept in on a couple of things and maybe wasted 17 years of possibly making some money and helping where I'm at now, maybe going 10 years ago. So I could be the podcaster with no unfinished business now. You know what I mean?
Right.
But you always saw through all of that. And even at times of my life that I did not share, I share now, but that were very, very turbulent times of my personal life.
Right.
You know what I mean? When multiple people were turning their backs on me because I was just not a good person to be around.
Right. Right.
You were never that guy. You never turned your back on me. And for me, there's a Mount Rushmore. Everybody talks about their Mount Rushmores, right? I have my Mount Rushmore of big performers that inspired me. Macho Man, Brett, Macho Man, Brett, Michaels, and Piper, right? That's my Mount Rushmore.
Yep.
But of my independent Mount Rushmore, where I came from, there's Loke, there's Brody, because Brody put me over for the heavyweight title, and that was his ask for next era. He put me. I otherwise wouldn't have had one. Brody was like, "Oh, Puma's not doing it. Okay, JC's the guy."
Mm-hmm.
And to a company that didn't care to put me over that way. Brody was one that. Brody's there. Hellcat.
Mm-hmm.
He laid the foundation, man.
Yep.
And it was one of those things where I had to make it right with him at some point, no matter how stubborn he was or I am. I had to make it right, and I knew it would. We had to go through our things, right?
Yep.
You're right the fuck up there. You're right there,
Thank you.
and that's a shoot. And I'm not bullshitting you. That's a shoot, because you never gave up on me. You gave me opportunities. You always listened. You always were there for me whenever I needed, whether it was advice in wrestling, advice in life.
Yeah.
You were always there. And when I told you what I told you, I fucking meant it. I do mean it. And I'm in the business now of giving people their flowers while they're alive to receive them.
Yeah.
And so I want to make sure you get yours.
Do you know why I always looked out for you?
No fucking clue. No fucking clue. Because I couldn't tell you. I could not tell you, because I'd abandoned myself a long time ago.
John, what did you do 18 years ago? Do you remember? Where did you go?
18 years ago.
18 years ago. Someone had a birthday party, a surprise birthday party.
Yes. It was yours, wasn't it?
It was mine. You and an ex-girlfriend. Yeah,
we showed up. That was where I first held Shane. I was so scared. I was so fucking scared to hold Shane. I was like, Deb was like, "You want to hold the baby?" And I'm like, no, because I'm like, know. And she was like, "Here you go," and shoved him right in my arm. And I'm like, I'm holding a baby. Yeah.
You came down on your own time, not even wrestling related. You came down for a surprise birthday party for me at my brother-in-law's
Slick
house.
Sexies. Was it
no, actually, no. It's Debbie's brother. Debbie's brother.
Okay. Well, Slick Sexy was there.
He was there. And
tell him I said hello.
I will. absolutely. That's Shane's godfather.
Yes.
We the fact that you came down to that event, didn't have to, but back then appreciated the relationship that you and I have, and drove 4 hours to a 30-year-old birthday party right there, showed me, you're someone that appreciates me, truly cares, and it was not even wrestling related. It was a pure friendship.
Yeah.
So you had showed me then how much I meant to you. And whenever someone does something like that, they're always held in high regard, even, years later. So the fact that, how could I come up with this right now, John, if it wasn't one of those things that
right. Okay. No, you know what? And now I will say this, being 41 and being older and really living life through the big picture, honestly, since Brody died, I hate to say it, that was, unfortunately, that was what was my wake up call. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For just appreciating things for what they are and seeing things in the big picture and understanding what they mean. So if you would have told me this 10 years ago, I'd have said, oh, come on, you're full of shit, Chip. I'd have done it. No, baby. No. But I get it. And I personally didn't realize that was it, that was the point right there. I thought it surely was because of my beautiful pipes and the microphone or something,
and
something.
Your great hairline.
My receding Puerto Rican hairline over here.
That's all right. It sure as hell's not your pool skills. I tell you that, your pool chemistry.
Well, that's my pool's fucking blue still right now. Okay, I'm closing it, but
so's mine, brother.
but all right. So you win the big one. Right.
Yep.
We got about probably 5 more minutes here. You win the big one.
Yep.
What is left for you to do?
In all honesty, John, I could probably retire tomorrow and feel 100% content on everything that I've ever accomplished. The frosting to it all is the fact that I still get to be able to come and work with, the younger talent out there, and give the knowledge. I mean, you got to understand, when I started wrestling 26 years ago, one of my trainers said to me, after I was extremely appreciative to him for all of the countless weekends that he would be away from his family, all he ever wanted was, if I ever got myself in a position to do the same for other people, to pass on the knowledge. That was all the things that he ever needed, for doing what he did. And that's a lot of what how I live my life in the wrestling industry. Of course, I'd be a fool if I didn't say that and put over my kid that I believe that he's got something so special, to give in this industry, and that there's no
I really fucking think he does. I really think he does. I get being young, being youthful, and understanding what it was like at that age. So, for anybody, if anybody fucking thinks anything, shitty or whatever, we were all there. We were all there. But I do think that if he truly wants it, it's literally right here for him to grab.
It is. I mean? It is, and I pretty much heard about it over the last week that basically once he turns 21, the sky's the limit. Like he's already got a major company that's already he's been on their radar, and and obviously we want the best for our kids and everything, of course, like that. So
of course,
it just I spent a lot of time and a lot of effort, not just training him, but also making him the young man that he is, and tough, and being a standout high school amateur wrestler, fundamentally sound, giving him all the tools and everything. So seeing that is going to be something special for me, like that it's passed on, and hopefully as the years goes on, he continues to do things similar like I've done, but maybe just on a higher stage.
Absolutely.
I would love to see, a lot of the guys in Rochester and Buffalo, like Daniel Garcia is doing phenomenal work right now.
Absolutely.
He's a showcase person to come out of Buffalo. Pepper, the Blade, doing phenomenal work. We all know that if John never passed, he was inevitable going to be a world champion.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. I mean, he's just so gifted. And like I said, we you and I are from the same cut from the same cloth. That we still struggle with that as of today. And that was one of the things when you had mentioned. For circle back on when I was in the cage and at the end, and asking Mike Rosario to come in, there's that picture up on that upper balcony of Brody, and I'm saying to myself, oh my God, that was one of the things that people are like, oh, you almost lost it out there.
He would have shit his pants. He would have that match would have tickled him. I know it would have.
It would have tickled him, but then he would have said, "Fuck, are you doing?"
He would have said he probably would have been like, "Oh, way to fucking gig yourself, asshole," or something like that.
Right.
He'd have busted your balls, but damn well he would have loved it.
You're putting me over, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you what. Let's table the Brody talk, and unfortunately, because of time constraints, it's Cheer Tuesday. I'm a cheer dad now, tattoos and all that, whatever. But I got to go pick up the kid. Let's do this another time very soon. Not 7 years apart. Probably within the same season. You good with that?
Absolutely. Well, I want to do it in studio, man.
In studio? Oh fuck yeah, dude! I got everything set up here. I'm ready for it. So whenever you're ready, you got an open. And you legitimately are one of the very two people that probably have an open door that can walk into my house whenever, and I'll have a beer waiting for you. So Chip, thanks for joining me on the pod, man. I appreciate you as always. We'll get you back on soon. We'll tell some Brody stories.
Awesome, brother. Love you, pal.
Brother. Love you. Chip Stetson. Love that dude. Great interview. Great fountain of knowledge for wrestling and life. And he's so willing, so willing to give that knowledge. He's not pushy. He's not the type that's, gonna be in your face about it. But he is just a great knowledge. There are some locker rooms out there where there are some veterans that are very quick to tell you, I'm a veteran in the wrestling business and this is what I see. And then they tell you just some complete dog shit that you're just like, you're a veteran of what? No, Chip is the real deal, man. Chip is his knowledge in the business is unbelievable. A great source of just anything with wrestling. He's got a very, very keen eye for it. Very few people have what Chip Stetson have. So much so, in fact, I will share the first time that I saw him was at a New Millennium Wrestling show, the first New Millennium Wrestling show, I want to say, back in January of 2000. And it was him at that time. He was very similar build to me. I was, rail thin, but he was probably where I am now. And he was on the smaller end of all of the characters that were there. Him and Hellcat were the two smallest ones. There was a guy by the name of Candyman that was there too. He was smaller, but Chip was the one, because he was the heel and he spoke my language, the heel language, I was most attracted to him in ring. And he was the one that when I saw him and I saw Hellcat, I saw Candyman, I was like, okay, maybe someone like me can actually get in the ring and perform. And so that was kind of another inspiration. He knows this. I've told them this a million times. And if you forgot, he knows now because he's listening to this too. But thanks again, Chip, for hopping on the podcast. And we will definitely get you on again this season. But as for this episode, my babies, that's going to conclude it. So I want to take the opportunity once again, thank Chip Stetson, Shane Stetson, who made a brief appearance earlier today, and all of you. Please remember to subscribe to this podcast and every Gear Network podcast for that matter, and you'll be able to get all of the new, latest and greatest stuff downloaded right to your phone, void of me using social media to tell you. I'm still going to do it, but if I don't have to do, the less I have to do, the better. But Tell your neighbors, tell your friends. We welcome your comments on the Facebook page, facebook.com/IamJCMoney, or the JC Money Show page, facebook.com/DJCMS podcast. And again, support the show. ProWrestlingTees.com/DJCMoney. I am all talked out, and I am all talked out. Next week, we do it again. I'll have another guest. I'll announce it on the page next week. Until then, my babies, so long, everybody. Good night now. Flava Flav. How about a yeah, boy, for Chip Stetson?
Yeah, boy! Hang on, one more thing before you go. Remember, listen to our sponsors following this podcast, as that does help this podcast and this network out in a way that we appreciate very, very much. So if you could just ride it out 30 to 60 more seconds after this podcast is over, listen to those commercials, it would be doing us a very, very big solid. And again, we thank you.
This has been a presentation of the Gear Radio Network. For more, log on to gearnetwork.com.